Hello, welcome to the LearningExpress library training. We're just beginning here. This session is the LearningExpress library's college prep resources. It's a 15-minute session, so we'll be really focused on looking at those particular resources. There's lots and lots of different types of resources in LearningExpress, but that's our focus here. That's me. My name is Jason High, and I'm a trainer and engagement manager with EBSCO, which is the company behind LearningExpress. And you should be able to hear me when you join the session, though it also will mute your microphone. That's just to help reduce background noise during the session. But if you have any questions or comments, you can use the chat panel, which you can see in the lower right-hand corner there. And when I'm sharing my screen, there will be a WebEx toolbar up at the top of the screen of your page that you can use to call up the chat panel if you need to. Also, if you've got questions at the end, feel free to ask at that time. And if you need additional training or are interested in scheduling something else, let me know. We'll be looking at the college prep resources, focusing on kind of one specific center in LearningExpress. So for those that are taking the ACT, the SAT, whether it's high school kids doing it or adults, PSAT, Advanced Placement Exam, and also TOEFL, Teaching of English as a Foreign Language. So we'll look at the test and tutorial functionality that's a major part of LearningExpress. So by the end of the session, you'll kind of have a better understanding of the College Preparation Center and how to take practice tests and tutorials, and also kind of make general use of there's a My Center section in LearningExpress which keeps track of what you've done. Let me go ahead and share my desktop here. All right. Now, while I'm sharing, you see up at the top of your screen, you should see a WebEx toolbar if you're connected on a laptop or desktop computer. And if you mouse over that, it pulls down, and you should see a chat button that you can use. So if you need to ask a question, go there. Now, I'm at a kind of generic instance of LearningExpress. If your institution subscribes, you may have different versions of this, or it might look a little bit different, or even have a different name. You know, for high schools, for example, you may have a tool called Prep Step that has many of the same kinds of resources in it. It's just organized a little bit differently. But what we're focused on here is the college admissions test prep area here. Now, basically, you know, just as an overview here, LearningExpress Library is the interactive online learning platform that provides the most comprehensive selection of career and academic resources for basic skills mastery, academic success, job preparation, and career advancement. And so you might have a link on your website, or however wherever people access these resources. And you can search and view things, but in order to take a test or a tutorial, you do have to sign into a personal account. Obviously, it's free. There's no limit to the number of accounts. But basically, you could come in here, and there's a register link to create an account. It's possible to create one without an email address. It doesn't ask for your last name, so there's options there for that. Whoops. Remembering my wrong password here. All right, bear with me one sec. Too many accounts. Here we go. There we go. So when you come in here, you land on this My Center page, And there's tiles that will show different kinds of content, so it remembers the ebooks I've accessed, the tutorials, the tests I've taken. I can access score reports, and it gives me recommendations on how to proceed there. If I go back to the home page here, now I can go start, and let's look at, so these are these different centers organized around different purposes. High school equivalency for GED, career prep for career entrance or certifications exams. And then, here's College Admissions Test Prep Center. And here you'll find ACT, SAT, PSAT, Advanced Placement, TOEFL, and then there's the College Admissions essay writing. So when just to show an example, if I click into Prepare for ACT, that expands out here and shows me all the available content there. So there's tutorials, practice tests, and in the case of ACT and SAT, there's by different subjects as well as complete simulated practice tests. There's several of them. You can take them multiple times if you like, and there's different modes you can take them in. Also ebooks, something similar here for SAT. But you can kind of, check out the content here. Just some of the AP exam content, TOEFL, and then writing your essay. Now, so for example, if I'm preparing for the SAT maybe, or I have a student who's trying to improve their score, let's look at one of the math practice tests. So like I said, here we've got 4 of these. You can take them as many times as you want. You can print them out to have a kind of a study guide to work from if you like. So I'll go ahead and start this one. And it loads up here in the web browser. It's going to give me background about the test, what to expect, how to take it, some guidance here. And these are all meeting all the standards of the current testing requirements, in this case of the SAT or whatever it is. So, background on how to take it, how many questions there are, how many minutes to complete. You've also got options for different test modes. And the default practice, which basically these have to do with, does it enforce the timer or not? And can you see the answers as you go or not? So, simulation is it times it, it makes it, you can't review your answers until the end. So, it's meant to actually simulate, and then the timer expires, that's the end of the test. So you can't go past that. Practice actually lets you go beyond the timer, so it takes some of that pressure off. And you can review your answers at the end. And Learner lets you review the answers as you go. Let's look at it in practice. So this is the default mode, but Learner's great for when you're still kind of learning the material. You can go through that way. It indicates whether or not you're allowed to use a calculator. If you are allowed, it's right in the browser, a built-in calculator you can use. And now you see there's a timer going. So I could go through and answer questions, and I'm just zipping through here to kind of simulate. And, I do have the option of saving and finishing later if I get interrupted. You can come back to where I left off. Or I can go and score it when I'm finished. It will show me, what I've answered. I can go back and review those. Okay, and now when I score it, I'm going to get a score report. And so this gives me details telling me, in this case, I need to some further preparation. And this is a calculated score here, so it's not just the number right and wrong, but calculated to the SAT score. And then below that, you see broken down by topics and subtopics, like where, what you got right and wrong. So that can help you kind of focus your studying. There's also some recommendations down at the end based on how you performed. Here's some further resources in the platform, other tutorials, other practice tests, maybe ebooks, maybe flashcards. things like that. And then I can also go back and view the answers. Boy, I did not do well here. So, jump back. It tells you, okay, I got that one wrong. Here's, it might also, it gives you an explanation and, why this is the right answer, why you might have chosen this as the wrong answer, depending on what the topic is about. But, again, I can check this out and, continue on with my studies. Question here, what did I click to review the answers? So again, I'll go back to that score report. It'll be right up here at the top. There's a view answers button. And I should mention too, if I take that test in practice mode, I can actually, there's a button to view the answers right at the end of the question. So as you go, you can be viewing the answers to kind of check if you were right. Okay, now that's just an example of a test. Again, this is just SAT, so other types of tests would use, follow their specific formats. But in general, they all work in this kind of similar fashion on the platform. So that's a practice test. I want to show you a tutorial, and then we're kind of rapidly rounding out to our 15 minutes here. So college admissions test prep again, coming back to SAT. Now I could follow that path where it's suggested, and here's some other resources, or I could go out and find my own. So I want to take a tutorial now on the math test preparation. Now we have basic skills tutorials, so if I just want to practice algebra or whatever it is, there are those kinds of tutorials. This one is specific to the SAT, but again, all the tutorials are kind of structured in a similar fashion. So I started it, and it starts off with an intro, and then there's the different sections, which the left-hand side shows me navigation options, and different lessons, and broken down into different topics. Now this is like learning what is the SAT testing, what kind of math is it testing. So it's kind of introducing that. Many of these tutorials will also have questions as you go to check your comprehension, maybe embedded videos or practice exercises, to involve dragging and dropping or filling in blanks or things like that. You'll also see there's a pre-test and a post-test that you can take that will kind of help you assess where you want to go. And I'm just real quick here, I won't fill the whole thing out, but just to show, it's similar to what we saw with the practice test, but a little different. It has this study plan column here. So, based on those different topics and how I did, there's this icon telling me, well, I need to more study there. And then here's that view answers link to actually go in and check my answers. So that's the pre-test. Then at the end do a post-test and see how they match up, and then go back maybe and restudy a certain section if you need to. Now, that's a basic kind of tutorial. So we've seen, and again I'm going to close and save, and that way it goes onto that My Center page actually, which I'll just jump over to now. You can always get to that by going to your name and clicking on My Center. And you'll see, here are my tests completed and in progress, tutorials, so I can jump back. So there's that SAT math practice test. And this expands it out, shows, my score, shows my score report. I can review answers. I can also, here's that list of suggestions, to follow for developing my skills. So all that, it's very detailed what it tracks here on My Center. You have the option to download to a CSV file to kind of get a report out of that. Now, finally, there's just so much to LearningExpress. I can't show you everything in 15 minutes, obviously, but that gives you a flavor of, what's here for college admissions test prep. I encourage you to explore the other centers, and you'll find just about everybody can benefit from this at different stages in their life. And the focus here is on test prep, but there's lots of other types of resources here too. If you want to learn a bit more about those, we do have other webinars, or we can schedule additional training. But just to round out here, help resources. There's an FAQ for users. We have some video guides that kind of explain how to use the platform. There's keyboard shortcuts for accessibility and things like that. Down at the bottom, there's some support for librarians and administrators of LearningExpress with some help guides and other information. And this links out to our support site, where you can find promotional materials, posters, flyers, graphics, and finally, I should mention, so there's LearningExpress Library. You can also link to these individual centers. So if you have a place on your website where people are going for test prep, you can put a link directly to this college admissions test prep center, or any of the centers for that matter. So not just the kind of front door, but linking into individual centers is available. Right, so we've been about a little over 15 minutes, so I want to stop now and just, again, here's highlighting some of those resources I just talked about for help and support and training. And thank you for joining me. What questions do you have? If you do have any questions, you can just type it into the chat. Okay, here's a question, a couple of questions here. Great. How would you find out how to link centers to your school website? Good question. Well, one thing you can do, you can always just contact support and they can send you the links. And one thing, it's important to make sure they're connected to your instance. Let me just go back to sharing for a second. And actually, one thing too, since this is a 15-minute session, we can go longer. That's fine. What I wanted to show you, so if you come down here to admins and librarians, and let's see, they've updated this link actually, because we have this new support center at connect.ebsco.com. But there's details here. It's on new content. They've reorganized this, so forgive me while I look around here. But basically, here we go. There's kind of a quick start guide. What I wanted to tell you is, every site has its own unique authorization code. So when, on your website, you've got a link and it will have this string of characters at the end. It needs to have that auth code in it in order for those links to work. So I would just, you can find how to in the documentation here, but you can also just ask support and they'll just email you the links to your specific centers. Let's see, another question here. Do the ebooks have a limited amount of users at one time? No, and that's actually one of the cool things about it. So let's look at one of these as an example, like this SAT ebook. So, this is just a PDF. You can open and read it in any PDF reader. It doesn't have any digital rights or DRM associated with it. So me opening it, downloading it, does not take it out of circulation somehow. It's still always available to everybody else. So, they're very easy to kind of manage. There's no checkout. It doesn't expire. And of course, you know, in the library, maybe you've got some test prep books. They may be popular. They may tend to circulate a lot. They may get damaged. They may go missing. They may become out of date. They will become out of date. All the stuff on this is updated, currently matching standards. There's a quarterly update for new content and updating existing ones if not done sooner. And you know, one last thing I'll mention: if you have library catalog, you can get MARC records to add those ebooks into your catalog and make them more discoverable. And that's also here down on that admin and librarians page. There's details here for how to do that. Great. Okay. Other questions? Yeah, that's a thing. Just a comment here. Fantastic about the MARC records. You know, it's easy to kind of overlook that, and then people just, you know, they're not going to find these things unless they go and look for them in the platform or know about it, or you direct them to them. So this helps make those discoverable to others. They'll still have to go into LearningExpress to get the actual ebook, but you know, you can have it in your catalog just to make it more visible to people. All right. Looks like I don't see any other additional questions, so let's wrap it up. If you do think of something else, feel free to reach out. You should have my email address from the webinar, but I'll just pop it here in chat as well. Pretty simple, jhi@ebsco.com. So if you have other questions, feel free to reach out. If you want to learn more, you know, check out our webinar schedule or let me know and we can schedule training as well. Thank you. I'll go ahead and end the session now. Oh, and the question here, there's another session after this. There is one at the top of the hour. It's another kind of 15-minute session. We'll be looking at GED high school equivalency resources. So yeah, if you're registered for that, I think some of you are. I know some of you are. I'll see you shortly. Thank you. Have a great day.